allocated and promised funds have still not made their way to Atlantic City. In conjunction with the Senator's action, myself, along with City Council, proposed a financial recovery plan that we believe would lead to fiscal stability. The plan largely went acknowledged by the state, although almost its entirety is now being recommended and parroted by the state's own team. At the conclusion of the third summit, the governor issued an executive order creating an emergency manager. He hired 2 finance gurus who had assisted fiscally troubled corporations find their way back to financial health through tough decisions and, in some cases, bankruptcy. The emergency manager, Kevin Lavin, and his special consultant, Kevin Orr, had a budget of millions of dollars at their disposal, and they hired Ernst & Young, restructuring accountants, former U.S. bankruptcy judge Stedcroft, and the Skadden Arps law firm, some of which worked on Detroit's bankruptcy. Their role was to determine how to turn Atlantic City around, negotiate the legacy debt down with the city's major creditors, such as Borgata, and file a report setting out a pathway to recovery. The city took the extraordinary step of welcoming the team as tools in our budget toolkit. We didn't wait for the report to be completed, but met sometimes on a daily basis and implemented recommendations of the emergency manager right away. The release of this much anticipated follow-up report was delayed for months, but acknowledges the unprecedented action of the city in reducing costs. It's worth noting that as the governor's summits were taking place and the hiring of the emergency manager and his team, Moody's Investor Service was watching and voicing concern over the retention of what appeared to be bankruptcy experts. Concern over whether bondholders would receive their payments or be mired in a bankruptcy was their primary issue. As a result, the city's bond rating went straight down the tubes. However, the city has never missed a payment to their bondholders. Furthermore, the recommendation of the emergency manager that includes continued reduction in city and school budget, additional reductions in staffing for city and school employees, finding new sources of revenue beyond property taxes, having the state of New Jersey provide comparable funding to the city and school districts as they have in all other urban communities in New Jersey, redirection of casino funds to the city, and implementation of regional and shared services if they provide financial savings are all not only acceptable to the city, but it's the path that we have followed for the last 2 years. To suggest that the state wants to take over the city so the city follows recommendations of the state makes no sense. The city has followed every recommendation of the emergency manager that the state appointed. The city is not mismanaging its finances. The state's Department of Community Affairs, the Division of Local Government Services, and the Local Finance Board through the State Supervision Act are in control of the city's finances. Point in fact, the Local Finance Board, not our City Council, adopts our city budget. During my tenure in office, the Local Finance Board has approved each budget. Our last budget was not even given to City Council for consideration. It was all done at the state level. In addition, the city has continued to show good faith by voluntarily entering into agreement with the state. In other words, the state, through a memo of understanding with the mayor and city council, has veto powers. The state has veto powers over all hires, fires, salary changes, redevelopment, and contracts relating to finance, as well as placing a state monitor over the city to ensure compliance with its directives. In a similar manner, the city has followed the recommendations and directives of the Division of Local Government Services as handed down by its state monitor. No other city in this state has this level of supervision over it for its day-to-day operation and its finances. In other words, every major decision that the city has made during my administration has been checked, double-checked, and checked again. We couldn't mismanage a paper clip without a review. The wake-up call to those above us is this: a simple one-step answer to the problems that have been created over 35 years does not exist. And more to the point, we can certainly not fix everything in just 2 short years. Let's talk about some things they want to do. Beta Field. Beta Field is always for sale. Let me repeat, Beta Field is for sale right now. And when we receive an authentic and reasonable offer, the city will gladly sell it as to eliminate all of our debt and reduce our budget, resulting ultimately in a considerable reduction in property taxes for all our residents. Yeah, don't clap. That's politicians' words. Stop. I am a servant of the people. I really only am here for that purpose. No such credible offer has ever been made. That's why Beta Field isn't sold. The emergency manager working for the governor has clearly stated, the guy that the governor appointed has stated, that selling the MUA makes no sense since water fees will increase so drastically that it'll simply be another form of tax. Rather, the emergency manager has recommended, as the city administration, that the MUA ceases as an authority, becomes a utility, and yes, we estimate more than $4 million annually that could be used to further reduce our tax burden. Not selling, not leasing, not using fancy words like monetizing. They all mean the same. We lose our water company. Selling Gardner's Basin is their recommendation. Well, Gardner's Basin cannot lawfully occur, not the sale of it, and here's why. A very, very long time ago, city officials accepted federal funds to keep the park green. It was a good decision, in perpetuity, through the Green Acres program. And so consequently, through legal conscience, it can never be developed. Glaringly not listed with the senator or in the emergency manager's report are the city's assets that we are already selling, including boardwalk property owned by the city and Garden Pier. What the report did not include is the state steadfastly owning more than 600 parcels of land in Atlantic City and not paying property tax or paying any property tax. That's how they affect our budget. The report does not mention that the state owns Boardwalk Hall and the City Convention Center and pay no taxes and pay no payment in lieu of taxes. The report conspicuously fails to point out that the Atlantic County Executive Offices and Courthouse, which are both located in the heart of downtown Atlantic City, are not paying property taxes or any payment in lieu of taxes either. Yet, Atlantic County, if the governor signs this legislation, is poised to reap a 2.5% increase from the casino pilot bill beyond what the Atlantic County tax assessor has determined as the fair amount for the city to have pay the county. Public safety, you've all heard it. From the first summit, the governor made it clear, get rid of our police department. Public safety is a point of contention when it comes to contracts. Very serious cuts in the Atlantic City Fire Department that were recommended were completed in 2015 through new collective bargaining agreements and the SAFER grant. And they met all the requirements and recommendations provided by the state. One on the outside should take a minute to see what meaningful reductions were made here compared to just 2 years ago. And we made cuts to the Atlantic City Police Department of $5 million at a time period where their existing collective bargaining agreement was in place. It means they accepted $5 million in cuts, even though they didn't have to, because their union contract was already existing. While experiencing historical just in crime, they're making cuts at circumstances like we've never heard. And even as the report was being published on Friday, January 15th, members of the PBA and my administration were sitting at the table working hard to negotiate a new agreement to meet the state's recommendation, with police officers are going to end up with a 15 to 20% reduction in salary and benefits that we give them. Now, what do they want? A county-wide urban police department? It's not going to save you any money. And more importantly, it is going to erode public safety. The proposed dispatch center that the county is planning will cost Atlantic City alone $500,000 annually. More than the city pays now for services already provided. We have already made definitive progress within the confines of all the options available to us. So why have the plans not worked out? Since the residents elected me as mayor of Atlantic City, time and fairness. More time is needed to continue to bring new businesses into our city that will both pay more taxes and create more jobs. It's taking too much time to receive the promised funding from the state and the redirection of casino funds that we need and were promised. If we are honest, the contra aid that Atlantic City receives from the state should be closer to $70 million instead of $10 million a year. Had that contra aid that 35 other cities received, and just so you understand, last year Newark got $100 million, Camden $100 million, Trenton and Patterson and all these others $60 to $80 million. No one's talking about that. They're only talking about Atlantic City. Had we received aid equal to the cities of other urban areas, we wouldn't be in the financial problem we are in today.
That's right.
Rather than providing the increases in the contra that the emergency managers report provides, the state unashamedly told the city to delay $40 million in payments to the state and health pension plan. The state told the city not to pay those $40 million. And now the state senator turns around and tries to act as a Monday morning quarterback and says that it's smoke and mirrors by not paying that and having a budget that made sense in 2015. Why would certain elected officials represent various electorates in Atlantic County exclude the mayor of Atlantic City and members of our city council when they met with the chief of staff of the governors just weeks ago to a draft announcement of a state takeover? Why would the state now want to strip the civil rights of a municipality by stripping its elected officials of the authority entrusted to them by the local residents who democratically elected them? The last time I checked, our forefathers fought a brutal revolutionary war to break free of the tyranny from afar, for those same reasons. And more recently, our beloved Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led the fight for individual civil rights. What do these two powerful movements of freedom have in common? Both were about the right to self-govern. However, the basic right is getting closer and closer being trampled on this year. Do not think it cannot happen in your town tomorrow. Finally, it's been stated that Trenton officials, the Senate President said this on Tuesday, are fatigued with Atlantic City. Well, I'm 62 years old. I rarely work less than 80 hours a week, and I am not fatigued. Atlantic City has sent more than $21 billion to help all the residents of our great state in the past 30 years without a fair rate of return on that money. And the people of Atlantic City are not fatigued. Kindly reimburse us, state, the money that you took from us, and don't ask for any more if you're so fatigued. If some elected leaders are too fatigued, I'm just standing there. If some elected official leaders are too fatigued to help New Jersey residents in Atlantic City, then do not block those who have the energy and the stamina to accept their true role of representing all of New Jersey citizens. Our city comes to the table every morning in a cooperative spirit to work with the state and federal government leaders, as well as public and private sector leaders. As long as I'm mayor of Atlantic City, we will continue to work with those legislatures who have the strength and the endurance to do what's right for New Jersey and who want to help improve the quality of life of all the citizens of Atlantic City. We are not fatigued. We will fight. We will move forward. God bless America. God bless the United States.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for those words and for that spirit and the fact that